They thought Ibrahim Traore would kneel. They thought 50 dead soldiers would break the nation's spirit. They were wrong. On a quiet morning in northern Burkina Faso, the silence was shattered by gunfire, ambush, and blood. 50 Burkinabé soldiers, sons, brothers, fathers, fell in an unprovoked terrorist attack that shook the nation. But what the killers didn't know is that this wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Within hours, Captain Ibrahim Traoré emerged, not just as a president, but as a war commander. His message to the attackers: "We will avenge every drop of blood." What followed next was nothing short of legendary. A military response so fierce, so fast, so surgical, the entire Sahel and beyond is still reeling. This is the brutal revenge that's shaking the world, and it's only the beginning. Before we dive in, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel, your home for powerful African stories that the world refuses to tell. Chapter 1: The Kourakou Massacre, 50 soldiers slaughtered at dawn, August 1st, 2025. In the early hours of a quiet Sahel morning, tragedy struck the heart of Burkina Faso. At approximately 5:30 a.m., in the village of Kourakou, located in the Yagha province, near the borders of Niger and Mali, a remote Burkinabé military base came under a sudden and devastating terrorist assault. It was no ordinary attack. It was a coordinated, high-intensity raid carried out by dozens of heavily armed insurgents, suspected to be from a Sahel-based extremist group aligned with foreign-backed interests. Armed with drones, motorcycles, and rocket launchers, they struck fast and hard, catching the stationed soldiers in their sleep. By the time the dust settled, 50 Burkinabé soldiers had been brutally killed. 50 defenders of the nation ambushed in their own base. The scene left behind was horrific. This was not just an act of war. This was a declaration, a provocation meant to destabilize the region and test the will of the Burkinabé revolution. And it hit hard. Across Ouagadougou, sirens wailed. Troops were placed on high alert. Radios echoed the grim headline, "Massacre in Kourakou, 50 soldiers dead." The Ministry of Defense confirmed the death toll within hours. Images of the young soldiers, smiling in their fatigues, unaware of the fate that awaited them, flashed across every screen. Each man had a name, a family, a story. One was set to marry in 2 weeks. Another had joined the army just months ago, inspired by Traoré's revolution. And now they were gone. But something stirred beneath the sorrow, not fear, not retreat. Resolve. They would not beg the terrorists. They would not plead for peace. They turned their eyes to one man, the man in uniform at the helm of the nation, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. And Traoré was already preparing his response. Chapter 2: Traoré's immediate response: "We will avenge every drop of blood." The attack in Kourakou wasn't just a national tragedy, it was a challenge. And Captain Ibrahim Traoré does not leave challenges unanswered. Just hours after the massacre was confirmed, Traoré appeared before the nation. His face was hard, his voice steady, his message clear. "To the enemies who thought this act would shake us, you have only awakened our wrath. We will avenge every drop of Burkinabé blood. You will find no shelter, no escape." Behind the scenes, orders had already been issued. By midday on August 1st, the National Intelligence Agency had launched a full-spectrum investigation. Satellite surveillance and drone footage from the tri-border zone were under urgent review. Witnesses in Kourakou were escorted to safe zones, and local militias aligned with the military were activated. By nightfall, Operation Kourakou Justice was born. This wasn't just a name, it was a declaration of war. The elite Cobras, Burkina Faso's rapid intervention units, were mobilized. Helicopter gunships were deployed from Ouagadougou. Advanced tracking systems, some recently acquired from allied nations, were turned toward the vast Sahel plains. Traoré personally chaired emergency strategy meetings, flanked by top commanders. His message to them, leaked from military sources, was chilling in its clarity. Do not return until every last one of them is accounted for. No one touches Burkina Faso and walks away free. On national TV, the president of Mali, Assimi Goïta, and Niger's General Chiani both issued joint statements of solidarity with Burkina Faso. They called the attack not just a blow to one nation, but to the entire Sahel resistance. And for Traore, that resistance would be ruthless. It was a message to terrorists, to foreign meddlers, to anyone watching with cynical eyes: hurt one of us and face all of us. And now the hunt was on. Chapter 3. Operation Thunderstrike. The hunt begins. August 2nd, 2025. Less than 24 hours after the Kourakou massacre, the counterattack began. Codenamed Operation Thunderstrike, this was not a symbolic gesture or a show of force. It was a precision campaign of retribution, cold, calculated, and devastatingly effective. The operation was spearheaded by the elite Cobra and Lynx battalions, known across West Africa for their unmatched desert warfare capabilities. Backed by aerial surveillance and local intelligence networks, they fanned out across the Sahel border zone, focusing on known terrorist hideouts along the Kourakou-Titabe-Setenga corridor. Long considered a hotspot of extremist activity, local militias loyal to the transitional government joined the hunt. Pearl, Mossi, and Gourmandché communities, long victims of these extremist cells, stepped forward to offer guidance, maps, and names. On August 3rd, military drones spotted the movement of motorcycles carrying armed men fleeing south of Setenga. Within minutes, air-to-ground missiles struck, wiping out 24 militants. On August 4th, a camp housing one of the key masterminds behind the Kourakou attack was surrounded by special forces at night. When they refused to surrender, the unit went in. By dawn, none remained alive. Western media outlets began to take notice. Reuters called it a brutal but effective retaliation. But in Ouagadougou, there was no time for reflection. "This isn't over," Traore said in a national address on August 5th. "Not until every last one responsible is gone." By the end of the first week, the official army report claimed over 160 insurgents neutralized, 12 camps destroyed, and 81 weapons caches seized. But this wasn't just about numbers. This was about a message. Burkina Faso is not the old battlefield where terrorists roam freely. Under Traore, it is a fortress, and violators will burn. A warning. Written in blood, Kourakou will never forget August 1st. It will live on in the memory of Burkina Faso, not just as the site of a massacre, but as the place where a line was drawn. Captain Ibrahim Traoré did not just respond with military might. He responded with conviction, with unity, and with a declaration the world could no longer ignore. Burkina Faso will fight its own battles, and it will win them. Operation Thunderstrike was more than retaliation. It was a message carved into the soil of the Sahel. Terrorism will not go unanswered. Sovereignty will not be negotiated. And the days of waiting for foreign saviors are over, because the 50 soldiers who died in Kourakou weren't just casualties of war, they were symbols of a rising nation that refuses to die. But make no mistake, Africa has awakened, and from the ashes of Kourakou, a new chapter has begun, one written not in fear, but in fire. If you believe Africa has the right to defend itself, then comment "Justice for the 50" below, and let the world know we remember. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, where we tell the stories that mainstream media won't. Because this is the Africa they fear.